For October the 27th, 2023, we talk about Super Mario Wonder, Spider-Man 2, Laika, Age Through Blood, and much more. Welcome to Level 477. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm David Maismith.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. I would like to apologize. I'm going to take the L on this. We didn't have an episode last week, and normally I like to schedule those if we're taking them off, right? Had a bit of a medical thing. I did not know that when a tooth got a root canal that it could get infected again.
Ooh.
In fact, I thought that the point of a root canal was to get rid of everything inside of it that could be infected while still maintaining the structure of the thing. Right. So, so for the better part of the back half of a week leading up to when we were recorded, I just thought that I had a particularly nasty piece of jerky or peppercorn lodged in there, lodged between my teeth. And I was like, oh man, I can't get this out. It just keeps hurting, and it's hurting more and more, and blah blah blah. And finally, it dawned on me, no, this actually probably is it needs to be addressed. So I got a quote unquote emergency root canal. And when we would have been recording last time, I was in a lot of pain and managing it with painkillers. And you don't want Painkiller Cole running a show.
I hard disagree on that one.
Yeah.
I don't want Painkiller Cole to be a thing, but as long as he is a thing, I definitely want him running a show.
I mean, I mostly would have just been real sleepy.
It would have been an Oops All Tangents show.
Yeah, it would have been bad news. Plus, I was cranky because it still hurt. The temporary filling stuff they put inside came out pretty quick, so I've basically got an empty tube sticking out of my upper jaw right now.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be fixed. It'll be fixed next week. So
see. I kind of just want them to take all of my teeth and just replace them with titanium teeth or something.
Get the jaws treatment. Yeah.
I just figure just cut out the middle, man.
It is a real catastrophic point of failure. Mm-hmm. It probably would be real easy to break even, actually, to go full titanium implants, because I don't know, not to share a whole bunch of stuff, but when this tooth got its initial root canal, it cost $1,500 to get done, to get the root canal and the crown, and this second root canal was another $1,000. So that's just one tooth out of 32, right?
Quick, let me Google how much is Greel.
Yes. Well, I mean, a grill would just go over the teeth. A grill is just like a piece that that's the secret about grills. It's a lack of commitment. So no.
Yeah, but I mean, I've had much problem with teeth as an adult, but as a kid.
Oh yeah.
In the course of getting braces and stuff, most of my baby teeth had to be pulled. So I've had I think 15 teeth pulled.
Good Lord.
No.
Yeah. That's rough. So that's the news for you. That's the news for everybody. If you, like me, thought a root canal tooth getting infected was kind of I need to be circumcised again, the first one didn't take. It just doesn't happen. That only happens when there's like a goblin's curse put on somebody. No, it actually is a thing that can happen. You are never safe.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Be extremely afraid. David, what's going on with you?
Not a whole heck of a lot. Been working, getting some clothing ready for Ren Fair, making myself a cloak. So
cloak, let me see here. Cloak is distinct from a robe because it has a hood. Is that correct?
So a cloak, at least in this case, is just like a huge half circle of fabric.
Okay.
Ooh.
So what makes it challenging is one, like, fabric is rectangular, so cutting a circle out of it wastes a lot of fabric.
Right.
And two, this is gonna be like 60 inches long, so that, like, even if you wanted to just cut a circle, that's a lot bigger than fabric. So what you basically do is cut the rectangle into like triangles and then put them together like the slices of a pizza to make the circle.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have to deal with. Are you wanting like a semicircular hem on that? And how does that geometry work?
So there's there's gonna be a hemi. There's two options. Well, I mean, a couple of options. One is you do it like double layer and do the whole like fold it, sew it inside out, then like flip it around. The other option is bias tape. So like fabric stretches more diagonally than
with either part of the weave.
Right. So you basically make strips of diagonally cut fabric and like so they'll then like wrap around the corners and you can basically just like fold them over. Or you can just cheat and have a machine called a serger that basically just does hemming.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm probably going with the cheating approach of this thing.
You've talked about getting a serger before or wanting a serger. Yeah. No, that's I'm jealous of people who have hobbies. Yeah. Nice.
Or who have hobbies that haven't been turned into full-time jobs.
Right. Also that. When is Ren Fair?
This weekend.
Holy cow.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Well, good luck.
Yeah. I'm actually a fair ways away. They're also having on Friday, the like local artist, whatever, commune or whatever, is burning a Wicker Man.
Ooh, nice.
So I'm gonna be going to that. Or I guess it's technically a Wicker Bear because it's a bear this year, but same idea.
Nice. Well, don't volunteer for anything is what I would say.
Yes. Avoid bees.
Nice. Ben, how about you? What's going on?
Not a whole lot. I think the highlight of my weekend, this is getting into Magic again, which we always seem to talk about now. They had a meetup called CubeCon. It was in Madison, Wisconsin, but they streamed it.
Okay.
And it's the second year they've done it in a row. And so basically it's just a bunch of people play cubes and they have like a tournament and stuff like that. But they have some like kind of high profile Magic players there, such as Reed Duke, I think he's one of the best players. But anyway, it's just like a lot of fun to watch because it's like a bunch of nerdy people who are all like super passionate about this one thing. And it's like people will play for like 24 hours, and like crash in their cars and that sort of thing. So it kind of has like a con type vibe with respect to other things.
So why is it called CubeCon?
Cube's like the name for a Magic thing. Like a cube's like a set of cards that you draft from, and so you can have different themed cubes. So basically, everyone brings their own cube to the convention, and people can sign up for drafts. But there's basically drafts firing all the time. So they have like odd ones where it'll be like a no creature cube and a lower power cube and stuff like that. And so it's just basically just different flavors of Magic and like different ways to have different drafting strategies. So
yeah, I've just been hearing a ton about the Doctor Who set that just came out.
I haven't heard a whole lot about it, and I haven't seen many of the cards, so it might just be kind of like a side set that you can opt into and play if you want. But yeah.
At any point, do you only have 30 minutes to move your cube?
Let me think of what this is a reference to. I do not know.
It's the Simpsons when Homer was Mr. Burns' assistant.
Mm-hmm.
He's reading him his messages, and it says, "You have 30 minutes to move your car. Your car has been crushed into a little cube. You have 30 minutes to move your cube." Fun little bit. Well, that's cool. Is there like a participation thing, or were you just kind of observing and chilling?
I was just watching on Twitch. This is something I might consider going to just because it looks like so much fun. But they basically have events the entire weekend that you're there, and a lot of people like flew in from out of the country to do it this year. It's gotten like a lot bigger in the second year over the first year, so it's
I'm just
cool
shocked that they have events in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think the part of it is the people who organize it live there and are some of the best cube drafters. So
GDQ is done up in Minnesota. You know, people things happen there.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. People probably play a lot of cards during the wintertime there. You're indoors.
Nice.
Oh, man, if you've ever been to
just salty that
UConn.
nothing happens here.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I had a big weekend. This was man camp time once again.
Oh, yeah.
Which has now grown to 2,700 guys all going out and camping for a weekend.
I hope you take this in the spirit that it's intended. I really wish they found something different to call it than man camp.
Yeah, it's
I understand the mission of it. Your church trying to find a positive side of masculinity, emphasizing responsibility and care for people around you. Am I getting this right? Am I remembering the right thing?
Right on.
Calling it man camp is a little dorky.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, so the guy who runs it, the pastor of my church, Brian Tome, has this book about 5 marks of a man, and just like, the whole thesis is, the opposite of being a man is not being a girl. The opposite of being a man is being a boy. It's about maturity and all this stuff. And he's literally said, he's like, here's the secret. Like, all these things work for women too. This goes into being a good person,
right?
Has acknowledged that.
It's good that he's working with that level of technology, which is, basically the switch that flips. Where you're like, oh, feminism is good for everybody, actually.
Exactly. Yeah. But there's still a ton of guys out there who, it's hard for them to get vulnerable or talk about certain things in certain ways if they're in mixed company. So it seems to have a positive effect. Yeah. But anyway, like I said, it's grown this year to 2,700 guys.
Wow.
Which I was going to say, it's just a miracle no one died.
Oh, wow.
I kind of went waiting for the, we killed someone announcement.
I mean, the active voice in that is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Either we killed someone or we allowed one to die.
Yes. To be fair, I guess the strap yourself to fireworks activity should not have been scheduled.
It's a real double hit between this and the Wicker Man Festival here.
Yeah, but we got a little bit of rain on Friday night. Nothing significant, and then the rest of the weekend was just perfect. So that was a lot of fun. But I'm all refreshed. I'm all back in touch with nature and shit. It's awesome.
Yeah, nature rules.
Have they ever figured out how to successfully do the pig roast?
No, that's been abandoned. The way they roast pigs now is they put them in tubes first.
So they're not putting them on a spit over a fire and putting an apple in its mouth.
No, they tried that in the first one, but the temperatures were so low that they couldn't get the fire hot enough to cook it.
No, it's a great way to get trichinosis, actually.
Yeah, it's one of those, and like that was their plan for food, and and David, I think you were there, right? Like stand in line for a half hour, be like, all right, food's coming, we're gonna get food, and you get it, and you're like, I guess there's no food.
You'd be so much better like digging a pit and wrapping the pig in foil. and burning it in the pit than you would just trying to like you were cooking on a cartoon like luau
in the freaking snow.
I forget. Did they eventually just like order pizza or something?
I think everyone had brought enough like M&Ms and trail mix and stuff that it worked out.
I do remember that being actually kind of funny.
That's why it happens in September and October now instead of February.
That's the other thing I remember is it was super cold.
Oh my! It was brutal. Absolutely brutal. But yeah, so this year's ran smoothly despite having a number of guys together where I just assumed like spontaneous combustion style accidents start to happen. But, ran pretty well.
You start ending up with like a statistical likelihood.
Yeah.
Like what is it? You only need like less than 50 people in a room for it to be guaranteed that two of you are going to share a birthday or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's
like somebody's going to need an appendix out.
Well, yeah, I mean it's a distinct problem that's like they say like 10% of men will have some accent, and so like if you have like 10% of the men in the area, that then becomes a problem.
It starts to compound because how often does an accident just involve one person? And
I know I've told this story, but I don't know if I've told it on air. I have a tree at the land they use for camps because they have all sorts of camps.
You have this is a tree that was felled and then they can't move it because it was too big.
No. This is a tree where we were supposed to clear this copse of trees. We got down to the last one, and jokingly, I just told the person next to me who I was hanging out with, like, leave that one there as an example to the others. And the guy with the chainsaw heard me say that and just assumed that I like had some authority and walked away. And this was like 5 years ago plus. And to this day, every time I go to a camp, I'm like, is it still there? And it's still there. So it's the enough ants all working together, and you just kind of follow the one in line in front of you. So it's that size, but not the size to get someone killed.
Yeah,
it's kind of a sweet spot,
Yeah.
I mean, generally speaking, not getting people killed is an important sweet spot.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, just speaking of trees and stuff, I was out on a hike and came across a tree where somebody had painstakingly carved the letters EH into the bark, which seems like an awful lot of effort to go to express your apathy. Just what are you working on?
They were going to do Mad, but gave up.
Ernie and Heather forever.
Oh, man. Well, that's all of us. And I think we should talk about video games, which means we have to do the regular kind of show, what with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with...
The grind.
The Grind, where we talk about the games we've been playing over the last period of time or so. I've got one. I've got more than one, realistically, but I've only got one that I'm prepared to talk about in any shape or fashion, which is Super Mario Wonder.
Yay!
Oh, that's all you need, man. I'm excited to hear about this.
It's real good. Super Mario Wonder is real good. I was a little bit unsold by it in the opening, kind of going because it felt a little simple, a little bit too easy, and I felt a little bit like the gimmick with the Wonder Flowers or what have you was just that kind of a gimmick, right? Like it's a really neat like aesthetic touch or whatever, but like what difference is this gonna make?
What is the gimmick?
Okay, it turns out that the gimmick is actually super meaningful.
Is this the elephant thing?
No. The elephant thing is just a power up that you can get, which it's just like having a fire flower or whatever. But you have a melee attack, like you can swat things with your trunk, or if you stand over some water, you'll fill your trunk with water, and then you can use that to do like a little spray for a few times. The gimmick is the Wonder Flowers, which are items that you have to seek out in a level. Earlier on, they just kind of like throw them at you, like, hey, here's the thing that's like midway through the level. And it makes things get weird. So like the example that people saw in the kind of preview videos when Nintendo is promoting Super Mario Wonder is, oh, here you get this Wonder Flower, and then suddenly the pipes start moving around like inchworms, right? And it's like that's a really cool visual. It is nice and trippy, but in reality, what that means is like they're moving to the music, and then occasionally like their little mid side will be up higher, and so you've got to make sure that you're riding it, and on top of that, the right time in order to make like a particular jump to get a pickup or a collectible, right? And depending on how it's used, that can be meaningful or it can't be. The thing is, at least as far as I've gotten, and I just finished the second like Bowser's Fortress or whatever, so the second of I think 7 worlds that you have available to you. These are big worlds with lots of stages, but the trick is it's not just the pipes going all inchwormy. The trick is that hitting this and finding this activates a completely different psychedelic thing that changes the game into something else.
Oh.
Okay. So like
wait, so like suddenly you're playing a shooter or what?
No, I mean, so not necessarily. So like I'll give you a couple of examples, right? So like there's a level that introduces I forget what they're called, but they're basically like these bison enemies who when they see you, when you're at the same level of them, they charge. And in regular play, they will, you're trying to get them to run into blocks to break them, to get a hold of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. When you find the Wonder Flower in that level, it starts a stampede. And suddenly there are thousands of them or hundreds or something like that rushing along. And you are trying to jump from one to the other as they are rushing along in the level, trying to basically turning it into an auto scroller or something like that. Right?
Belt. Yeah.
And dealing with that there. There's a level that introduces these particular kind of they're like cloud blocks, but they've got like a firm top on them, and the longer something is standing on them, like they squish down until if they squish down entirely, then they disappear, like they dissipate. So you think, okay, cool, like I'm timing this, and also the enemy enemies that land on them, or even projectiles that land on them, also press them down. So you want to make sure they don't disappear when they're under you. You find the Wonder Flower, and then suddenly you turn into one of these, and you have to figure out how to get things to land on top of you to crush you down, so you can fit through like particular places. Right?
Ooh.
Very cool.
And they do a very good job. I mean, like, it's really funny because you're like, you go through this process where a new element is introduced, and you're like, oh, it works like that. And then you engage with that knowledge or that mechanic in order to, find this hidden Wonder Flower. And then suddenly it takes some particular element of the way that is deployed and then just turns it. Could be 180, could be 45, could be 90, something like that, but turns it just enough to where it's like, oh, every single level of this, at least so far, has had its own individual little gimmick, and it is inventive and fun as hell. It's really cool.
That seems to be Mario games at their best, is like, it is just a compendium of amazing gimmicks that like any one you could probably build an entire platforming game around, but you get like all of them in just different sections.
Yeah, and this is different even than before, where like Mario games are additive. Right, you get 1-1, and then suddenly you're down into the underground, and you're dealing with more stuff overhead. Right, then they start then when you're down there, they introduce the moving platforms that go up and down the lines. Right. Well, then, after that, suddenly the moving platforms that are up and down the lines, those are in overworld areas too, and on and on and on. Like things are introduced like cumulatively. I'm not sure how many of these like Wonder Flower gimmicks are going to be reused. I figure eventually they might, but then maybe not. I don't know. But they're doing like this weird, almost like forked path where like enemies that are introduced will show up again, but like every mechanic gets this super bonkers like moment in the spotlight. That also leads to because one of the my favorite thing about Mario games, and this is what makes Super Mario World my favorite, is searching for hidden stuff. you know. And in Mario World, it is going and finding alternate exits in a way that alters the map, right? Like, okay, I found a secret pipe here in this ghost house, and suddenly like a land bridge is created across this pond, and I can go and get a preview of, you know, Bowser Land, right? In Super Mario World, right? They've kind of gone on, especially from New Super Mario Brothers on, and made that more about like finding different kinds of coins or what have you. You know, like, okay, so you get the
collectibles.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, you got all the blue coins, but did you know that if you go back through this, you can get the you know, the red coins and the black coins or whatever. And they made all of Super Mario 1 around that. Yeah. It's like, I mean, New Super Mario Brothers 2 on the 3DS, absolutely. That's about like getting 2 million coins. This is taking a little bit more back in the direction of, it's not just like find X number of this thing. And those were interesting to get to because you had to understand the platforming mechanics and understand how to read a level in order to uncover some of those. And some of that is still here. Like there are flower coins that are special currencies, a special currency that can be spent at stores to get stuff. But making this all about the wonders, the wonder flowers, and trying to uncover those, and then figuring out the individual gimmicks of them, does take us back closer to that Super Mario World style of secret finding. Although I do wish that it changed the world map if you found an alternate exit.
I have a question. Do they iterate on the like wonder mechanic at all across levels, like, or is each level kind of its bespoke thing that doesn't come up anywhere?
So far, each level has kind of had its own bespoke thing.
Okay, cool.
Yes, yeah. I do not know. You know, it's Nintendo. Like any other developer, I would say, yeah, they're going to start repeating themselves eventually, or whatever. They may actually have, you know, however many levels, that many individual concepts with their own art direction and stuff. You know, they don't adhere to rules. Nintendo doesn't really.
I think of Super Mario Odyssey, where you get to a point in the game, you quote unquote finish the game, and then it's like all the different worlds are mixed together, and now the mechanics from one place are shown up in another, and it's basically like that's when the game starts.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm imagining a world for Wonder where you get to the end, and it's like, all right, now you can get the Buffalo Rampage in any level.
Yeah,
have fun.
You know, and that gets to something that is still a bit of a bummer, which is I think by and large the levels are a little bit too easy.
Hasn't that kind of been Mario's thing for a while?
That's the
side scrollers.
I mean, side scrollers are also pretty easy, you know. Yeah,
I thought like New Super Mario Brothers, you like literally couldn't die or something.
If you were playing multiplayer, that was the bubble, the bubble thing. Each level has like a difficulty rating, and each little sub area, like world that you're in, there are challenge levels. Like they bring back the special world, you know, like from Super Mario World, where it's like, hey, this is just like challenge fuck kind of stuff. But the actual levels that you need to go through in order to get the seeds that you need to proceed, you know, and open up gates to clear the areas, those by and large are like in like the 1, 2, or 3 difficulty star range, whereas like I'm looking for more of a 4. And it makes me wonder if they are going to do the trick again, like in Super Mario 3D World or like in Super Mario Galaxy, where you get credits and then it says, all right, now the game begins, and you're running through. I mean, in Super Mario 3D World or 3D Land, it was like Luigi mode or whatever. But I wonder if they're going to do that kind of thing where it's going to be a challenge second run or what have you. I'm curious. I don't know.
See, I think my big thing is I just want them to patch all of this into Mario Maker.
I mean, God, doing wonder shit in Mario Maker, that would be wild. And also some of the gimmicks in here are incredibly difficult, like blocks that appear and disappear like on the beat of the music, you know.
Oh wow.
And not just like on and off, but like different colors that will be pinned to different beats. So it's basically like a path that dissolves behind you. There's a bunch of stuff that if Mario Maker challenge fuck people got a hold of it, it would be disastrous. It would start international incidents. It'd be really bad. I didn't even get into the other mechanical thing of this, which is badges. So badges, they're equipped, and some of them are like assist kind of things. It's like a ring slot or like a perk, right? Some of them are like, okay, enemies will drop extra coins when you bop them, or equip this for there to be like extra blocks present to help out in some of the in some of the jumps and things like that. Help you get to secret areas, things there. Other ones import whole new like movement mechanics.
Ooh.
So like one that I just got in the second world was, hey, you remember how Luigi jumps, like how he jumps a little bit higher, but he kind of has like a little float on the end of it. Well, what if everybody could do that? And that was something that you equipped to the exclusion of other things in order on a level in order to make your run at it. You know, like New Super Mario Brothers, this has like a wall jump. It's like, okay, what if you had this badge that instead of doing the standard Mario wall jump where you're just you're always bouncing away from the wall when you jump, what if you had two of them? The first one always sent you upward a jump height, and then your second one would send you out from the wall.
Interesting.
Okay. What if there's one where once you jump, you just kind of keep bouncing and you got to roll with it, baby?
You never stop
Is
jumping.
there one that just gives you a gun? Like, can I just be like... I just want to be like, fuck it, I'm killing them Goombas.
Me rolling around.
Shadow the Hedgehog treatment.
Well, it's even funnier. I roll around as Daisy because of the don't you wish you could just go ape shit and you just lose it meme? So just Daisy's got a gun. Oh, man.
And you can only equip one badge at a time?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
At least so far. I don't know if they'll let you double them up.
Combine, yeah.
Yeah. Later on, if you get a separate slot or whatever. But yeah, that adds in a whole different complication. So a level can play completely differently depending on which one of these you get. And even some like the difficulty ones end up having utility. Like I just went through a level where the Wonder Flower you could only get if you had on basically the safety pin, which made it so that if you fell into a hazard, you bounce back up.
Oh.
Okay. So like you think, okay, this is meant for kids, right? Like, so if they fall into a pit, no worries. Your first one's free. Basically, every time you fall in, you can bounce out, right? With this one, there is no way to get it except to knowingly leap into a pit beneath it. So that you'll bounce back up and then hit the flower and then enter a sequence where you like fall safely to go after the seed that you're trying to get. So yeah.
See, that's exactly the type of thing. I want to see levels that are all based around the only way to beat it is to purposely throw yourself into these weapons.
Yep. It's real neat. It is real neat. It is the most Mario feeling thing I have played since Super Mario 3D World. Honestly, I'm not a fan of the traditional 3D Mario. Sorry, Ben. I know you love Odyssey or have expressed fondness for Odyssey in the past. Yeah. It's not my jam. But this one though, I'm having a good time with it.
Very cool.
Yeah. Any questions? Any other questions about Super Mario Wonder? I'm sorry, I just kind of breathlessly went at it there.
No, that actually sounds pretty cool. I just wish it was on a better system.
Well, yeah.
I don't think Mario's ever going to not be on Nintendo, unfortunately.
That's the thing.
Are you playing it as a digital download or on a little chip?
Oh, and yeah, I don't. If a game is available at retail, I like to get it at retail.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very cool.
Yeah. That's just a personal thing. Not that I think it's going to have any like resale value or anything. I just like having them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if it's a Nintendo game, they're not going to go on sale anyway. So why bother waiting? So yeah,
that is a good point.
Yeah. But Super Mario Wonder, it's good. A Nintendo made mainline Mario game worth playing. Who would have thought?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Who else has something new?
I got something new.
Ben, go.
Yeah, I played the other game that came out on Friday, which is Spider-Man 2.
I played the first hour and a half of that. Yeah.
So there was a fork in a road, and it's like it was either Mario Wonder or Spider-Man 2, and it's like, well, all right. It is a Spider-Man game so far. And so if you like the first one and you like Miles Morales, it is that game seemingly.
Had you played those? I forget if you played. Okay, so you played Miles Morales as well.
Yeah, I did.
Yes,
yeah,
we talked about the Electro Spider stuff.
Yeah, I played it like a year or two, I think, and talked about it here. But that said, you can get like a recap if you either haven't played those games or it's been a while, which was for me. Mostly the story picks up where it left off with those two games. There are a few characters they added that I don't remember from the previous games, but it's minor, like kind of more side characters, I guess. And yeah, there's certain plot lines that I had forgotten about. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil the end of Spider-Man 1, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead. It's a 5-year-old game.
Yeah,
so.
I guess Aunt May dies at the end of that. I'd forgotten all about that. I think the story arc between Harry Osborn and his father, I'd forgotten about that in Spider-Man 1 too.
It's not very pronounced in that one.
Yeah. I vaguely remember the Oscorp being settings and stuff in the first game, but they do a good enough job recapping it well enough that you can hit the ground running, and they do a good job of just setting the stage pretty well, so you kind of know what the stakes are and know what's going on.
And the thing about Spider-Man is you kind of know what everybody's about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The villains in Spider-Man are pretty two-dimensional, it feels like,
Somebody's going to get very mad that you said that, but it is also brave and true.
All right. Well, this is my truth, I guess. It's because I know it's characters I know there were ones, I'll name ones from the first game. There's Rhino, Electro, I think Scorpions in that, maybe Vulture or something like that. It's they're all just angry people with a weird animal costume, more or less. It's they don't really go into the depths of what their motivations are, and that's fine. It's a comic book game. You just mash a tap a beat things up, and that's I'm happy with that arrangement.
I mean, weren't we all comfortable with that until comic book remake movies decided that they needed to be dark and gritty?
I'm not uncomfortable with it. Yeah. It's fine.
And I think certain franchises have pressed the button harder than others as far as how much they want to do that sort of thing. I think
as far as I'm concerned, comic book movies no longer exist. They haven't made one in several years.
Oh. Wait, what do you mean by that?
I am choosing not to recognize their existence until they start making them good again.
That's probably a healthier way to think about it instead of... anyway, whatever.
You just watch other movies instead. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically all the mechanics are there. I think the main differentiator with this game over the previous ones is you can play as both Spider-Mans kind of concurrently. They have different missions for each of them, and so you can kind of toggle between them in the same vein that you could in GTA 5, where you could toggle between 3 different characters. So that's kind of a healthy addition, or that kind of mixes up a little bit. You can kind of choose what you want to do. One thing that's a welcome surprise is you might be doing some city missions, and the other Spider-Man, either Peter Parker or Miles Morales, will come in and just help you out and beat up people with you. And it's oh, this is great. Having a computer help me out and makes it a little bit easier.
It's very funny that in cutscenes, when they refer to each other in costume, they don't there's not Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2, like the Gallaghers. It's just Spider-Man over here.
So it's straight up that meme with all the Spider-Man pointing.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I think
is it Spider-Mans or Spider-Men?
I think it's just Spider. Well, I don't know.
Spider's Men?
They only have Spider-Man in the text of the subtitles.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of the ethos of the Spider-Man universe is
Oh,
they want it to be a very they want it to be a very inclusive hero where it's anyone can be Spider-Man. So I appreciated that. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, the traversal, they've done some mild quality of life improvements. They introduced a wingsuit for I think Miles Morales, but I think Spider-Man can do it as well.
You both get him in the opening. You both have to use it to fight. It's literally the first thing that happens. You both have to use them to fight Sandman.
Yeah, that's the opening set piece. So similar to how you fight Rhino at the beginning of the first game, here they do the same thing with a different villain. That's a nice opener for the game, both combat wise and also narratively. It is a cute game a la Naughty Dog as far as like people are making light banter, and it is an enjoyable romp if you like that sort of thing. But yeah, since you have wingsuits, they introduced this mechanic of like air drafts running through New York City, where it's like you can open your wingsuit and you're basically just flying along the wind tunnel, essentially.
Yeah, that's actually fairly accurate.
Do they ever comment on it smelling like garbage?
Not yet, but
Usually from the subway, actually.
Oh, fair enough.
There are updrafts, so maybe they'll comment on it there. But the nice thing about it is it's just a way to more quickly traverse the area, which is nice. But then also introduces this cool like choice where it's like, okay, this is kind of like a highway that's going in this direction, but my objective's over to the left. Like, at what point do I need to pop out of this like fast travel and like go to my actual mission, which is kind of cool. By and large, it's the same sort of game where it's like it's an open world game. There's a shit ton of side things you can do that they slowly unravel like one by one as you're doing the story mode. The story feels pretty engaging. Like they're already setting up like long-term plot lines pretty early on in the game.
They're throwing like everything at you. Like it feels like the prologue. There's like, and elsewhere. Oh, here is what could be the main villain of a whole game.
Yeah,
just doing something ominous. Yeah,
yeah, and like from the demo that they did at E3 like a year or two ago, like the like Venom and the spider suit, like that thing's coming, but there's nowhere in sight right now. Or like, I mean, I guess they have a few allusions to it, but it's
like one little cutscene in the opening that it implies symbiotes are out. Yeah,
but like similar to the first game, how it's like it was really really long, but then like Doc Ock was introduced in the second half of the game, and it was a real slow burn to get there. It seems like they're doing the same sort of thing here, where it's like, okay, here are the short term threats now, but you're going to get more stuff later in the back end. So I definitely appreciate like how much game there is here. On the other hand, the trade-off of that is it's like, man, that's a long experience. So it's like finding the time to get through all of it. It's like, I suppose you should just like kind of like shut up and enjoy the game sort of thing, and like not try and think about trying to rush to complete it or whatever.
It's more about getting from, just the loop of swinging, chasing after somebody, getting into the combat, with its particular like complicated version of the Arkham rhythm to it, and then getting away or chasing somebody and then ending the mission. Like it's just a bunch of different skins on top of that, which is fine because like I don't know, I'll do that for 25 hours every 3 years.
Exactly. Yeah. In the back of my head, I was comparing this a lot to God of War and God of War 2 because it's like that's another franchise where largely the sequel is pretty much the same game as the first one. However, I'm like not disappointed with the experience here, where I kind of was with like God of War 2, where like I wished for a little bit more innovation there. So I can't really quite place my finger on why I have that kind of divergent feeling. But I think kind of as you said, where it's like the play loop is fun enough of like chasing people, beating them up, and then doing something else that you're kind of forgive the kind of same equality between this game and the previous one. So
does this one still have the takedown where you straight up break a dude's neck?
There are lots of takedowns. You straight up just like pummel people with mechanical spider legs that are very much pointed at the end.
Yeah.
Or throw a car at them with your webs.
Yeah,
sure.
I just remember in the first game there just suddenly being a takedown where you like wrap your neck around your web around someone's neck and just like yank them. It's like, oh dude, that guy's definitely dead.
I mean, it's a similar artifice as like the Arkham games, where it's like they're just knocked out and hurt on the ground after you do these seemingly murderous moves to them.
There's no blood, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like comic book logic,
Yeah.
So yeah, they don't.
These people aren't dying because the readers wouldn't conceive of that.
Right. Yeah, the game is not trying to be like gritty realistic or anything like that. It's like. Yeah, I mean, it's like Spider-Man also goes up and like helps firefighters out, put out a fire, that sort of thing. So it's like,
so I did see the blurb, people being very happy that apparently you now do much more firefighting and much less helping the NYPD spy on people.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. They made a conscious effort, at least as far as I've seen and as far as people are talking about. I believe it was a legitimate criticism of Spider-Man 1, which is, Spider-Man's a cop in that. Like, he is working for the NYPD, and that is not necessarily like cool to do now. And I say cool. No, it's not
fraught.
It's fraught. Let's say, right? Like, okay, here's a hero. We are so much more aware of authority abuses and things like that. Them taking it and making it so that Peter is instead, and Miles are instead, much more in line with the firefighters is, I believe, a real positive choice. The other thing I was going to comment on that is very strange, just in a modernizing Spider-Man kind of way, Miles Morales has developed an app for people to submit Spider-Man help requests, which turns both Spider-Men into gig workers, essentially. Like, one of the first things that you do in this is, after Sandman has disrupted the networks or whatever, is like set up a little bootstrap network so people can submit their complaints. I was going to say
2 stars, Spider-Man.
I mean, do you
Technically,
get complaints? Because that would totally be on brand for Spider-Man.
I'm being mugged is technically a complaint.
I mean, it is really shocking that the window washers of New York have not collectively gathered to skin Peter Parker alive.
So that mechanic is a carryover from Miles Morales as well.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's just funny. This is my first time seeing it.
Yeah. The friendly neighborhood app sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. But by and large, I think if you like either of the first 2 games, then you'll like this. It scratches the itch of giving you like to-do lists and like solving things and having, open world type things where it's like, here's an area, here's all the side things I can do in it. Let me just like go around and clear this for fun. That's the sort of itch it scratches, as long as you're having fun with the mechanics, and it does not become a like to-do list chore type thing. But yeah, so I'm having fun with it so far. I appreciate like how much the polish is on the story. So I'm probably going to keep playing it, but who knows when it'll be completed or when I'll have any new meaningful experience to talk about with it. But yeah. I have one other thing to talk about. Oh,
I was just going to say, I kind of appreciate the Easter egg I saw someone post. Apparently, like in the first game, there's a running gag where Miles' friend is like trying to make a video game or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this time around, like if you actually look at the like, I forget what they call it, the random like, video games so I've scattered around places, you can find this game.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like,
you made it.
That's great.
Any other questions about Spider-Man 2?
Nope.
The other thing I was going to talk about, and I wanted to talk about this last week, was they beat, quote unquote, or finished, quote unquote, Baldur's Gate 3.
Cool.
So you had sex with everyone?
Yep, I didn't say. I came, whatever.
He came, he saw, he conquered.
Yeah.
Or he conquered, he saw, he came.
Or perhaps, got conquered and,
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Wherever you're
Plenty of options in the game.
Any number of combinations. Proceed.
Yeah, so I completed the 3rd act of the game, which is where I was at, I think, the last time I talked about it. I will speak in very vague terms about this, just because I don't want to spoil it, especially because multiple people who are hosting the show, as well as listening, are playing the game right now. So, yeah, I think I did say where the 3rd act is, which is the city of Baldur's Gate, which is kind of where you're, where everyone says that they're heading to throughout the game. So it kind of makes sense that you end up there.
I really thought everyone was just going to get back on the Nautiloid.
Yeah. We're going to get this ship working again, guys. I think, I guess I'll just speak in broad terms. I enjoyed the game. I do think it gets a little muddled towards the end. But it's still a great game, and it's still like one of the best games I've played this year. But there are a few grievances, especially with the like the final chapter kind of, or the final like end push, like the last like hour experience that you have with the game. I did have to bump the difficulty down to easy because of like how difficult. There's like a huge spike in the final boss. There is kind of payoffs for your choices, I'll say vaguely, with the final boss fight, where basically your choices up to that point will make it harder or easier. But it is, for me at least, not having kind of known what the effects of my actions would be. It was a very difficult boss fight where I had to bump it down to easy, but then even after that, the final like level, I had to stop at a certain point and just watch a video for, because it got to the point where it's like, if you die, the checkpointing will take you back and you have like this other like 20-minute fight to get through before you can get to the other one. And maybe you could have save scummed it. I didn't try doing that. But I ended up just like watching a cutscene of the ending, which I was a little bit disappointed by.
Could you
feasibly really
like
bad design?
Yeah, if you were committed to the bit, could you feasibly go back and grind to get stronger before finishing, or is it like you've crossed a threshold that you can't go back from?
So you cap at level 12, and I hit level 12 like towards the beginning to middle of the third act.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So originally they were going to cap it at level 10. I don't think it's too weird because of how well they've designed the classes. Like they are pretty thoughtful about, like what you get unlocked at each level. And there's like meaningful changes you have at most of the levels. There's a few where it's just like increase health, blah, blah, blah. But I can understand why they cap the level like that, because certain classes might need like rebalancing or something, because you can't like go in the same trajectory that you're going. Like I
feel like balance, especially in a D&D game, is kind of overrated.
Yeah, but also like you don't want to have something where they give you the ability to go to 20, which is literally we can fight gods kind of stuff, and that is just not the scale of the conflict that they have. And also like,
I mean, not with that attitude.
And also like grinding just isn't in the spirit of D&D, really. Like it's just not. It's like, not a thing that
to give a concrete example, like with the rogue class, for example, on odd levels you get additional D6s on crits with your sneak attack. Like if that were to keep going past level 12, they might run into balancing issues with that, right? If you could go up to like level 20 or something like that.
Well, and two, I feel like the spells that you would traditionally get access to start getting to a point where it's like, okay, they can only program so much stuff into the game, and giving someone wish might be a problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you do the wish and it just opens up the source code of the game. It's like, have fun, dude.
It's your turn now. Yeah. I mean, and there's also the matter of like, every Baldur's Gate game has had a meaningful expansion to it as well.
Okay.
So I mean, even like Neverwinter Nights, that didn't go up to level 20 until you got Hordes of the Underdark. Like that's a thing, is saving the upper levels for expansion content.
Yeah. I do want to replay, because it's like I have gone back since completing the game. I've gone back and looked at kind of like how your choices have effects, to be like, okay, could I have done this a different way? And what are the effects if I do that sort of thing? So there are different paths I want to try if I do another run through. Do you guys remember the WarioWare GameCube, like how they have mini games? Do you remember the one where it's like the person holding a stack of pizza boxes and on a unicycle, and you have to kind of balance it so that they don't fall over?
Moving left and right, yeah.
And how there's different, like there's a hard version of it and an easy version of it. The hard version, there's just more boxes or whatever that you need to balance. This is kind of what the game feels like when you get to the third act, where it's like, because there's so many things going on and there's so many thread lines, that it just feels like somewhat unwieldy on the third act, where it's like, people will come in and payoffs will come to previous choices that you made, but everything's so out of left field, because you're like, well, I did that like 60 hours ago. Like I barely remember who you are.
We call this the Mass Effect 3 problem.
Okay. Yeah, because it's like that for across 3 games that you have.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like one of the downsides of the game. Like, granted, it's impressive that they have like the game set up in the way that it is, where like all those things are tracked and come back up like pretty seamlessly and pretty independently of one another. But on the other hand, it's like because it's so far apart and so kind of LOL random, it's like you don't kind of get the emotional payoff that you might want to be going for with those sorts of things. Even if they have this, very tragic conclusion or something like that. It's like, bro, I haven't seen you for 40 hours. Like, I'm not invested in whatever your storyline is.
However,
that makes me think, like, early in Act 1, you find a piece of jewelry with a note on it that's like, oh, meet me in Baldur's Gate or whatever. And I have hung on to that note and that piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
Ever since. It's not a unique piece of jewelry. I've gotten other copies of it.
You find the person that should have belonged to in the opening on the beaches. Yeah.
Yes, I assume so. Like, I trust them to do that, but it's also to what you're saying, Ben. Like, at this point, I can't imagine myself being super moved by anything they could say to me. It's more just like, this better pay off. This better pay off, and then 3 years later, okay, paid off. Thank
you.
God.
Get there and they're just like, oh no, I just thought that'd be a good marketing strategy. Viral, guerrilla marketing.
And I think so. The other thing I wanted to say about the third act is I had a few complaints, I guess, with my experience, and this happened maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the game, where basically a choice was made that I wasn't sure what the effects would be, and I was disappointed with how it went down, I guess. Basically certain things where it's like, you can either go down this path or not. And if you end up going down this path, it makes this huge impact of like, this entire sector of the world hates you now. And it's like, just because you might have done things in a certain order. And I guess my problem with it is like, the character motivations felt somewhat flimsy, where it's like, oh, we've been best friends throughout this entire game, but because I'm making this choice, now we're sworn enemies. And it's like, it did that in a couple places to the point where it's like, it felt very flimsy and kind of sacrificed the quality of writing of the characters. Because in so many places in the game, like your companion backstories are by and large awesome. Like, and they're really like good. Remind me of Knights of the Old Republic in terms of like, each one's captivating, each one's interesting, each one is its own thing and very bespoke. Like, that part is so good that it kind of feels like a counter to that, where some of these mission choices that you make can really pivot like how people feel about you. And it feels like unwarranted too, like where you don't understand the effect of what's going to happen if you go down certain paths until you do it. So that was kind of like disappointing. And then I think the other thing that's just like a personal thing is, since I haven't played the first 2 games, I feel like there's a lot of references that are kind of going over my head in the game. But that I'm not sure of. I just kind of like have a vague feeling about that. So anyway, it is still a very impressive feat of a game, even though I'm kind of like lobbying these criticisms against it. I do want to go back and play it again. And I do have a group of people that we're talking about doing a multiplayer version of it, similar to like a Gloomhaven or D&D type group, where we'll play like a couple times, like maybe every week or every other week for a couple hours. And with that, we're starting to try and like party craft and be like, okay, what's the optimal like 4-class build here? Where we can see everything the game has to offer. So it's like, have one person have speak with the dead, have one person be speak with animals, like have one person have like crazy persuasion and be able to talk to anyone, that sort of thing. So it's kind of similar to what I was trying to do with the second run through anyway, but trying to figure out how to do that with 4 classes now in a multiplayer setting. So it's hard to like come to any conclusions about the game because it's so massive, and it's like, it is definitely a feat, and it is definitely such an improvement over Divinity Original Sin 2, which was that it's by itself was a really good game. And it is the best implementation I've seen of D&D into a video game, like ever, and by like leaps and bounds as well. Like I can't really think of anything that's close to this. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird game to review, I guess, because it's like there's so many highs in so many places. There's a few kind of significant lows in some places, but it's still like a very respectable game. So I don't know. What about you all? Have you guys been playing this, or are there any questions? Or
No, I don't have any more questions. No.
I'm afraid to ask any questions for fear of spoiling something.
got it.
I'm deep in Act. Well, I think I'm deep in Act 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can transition over to what you've been playing if you want. If you want to talk about it at all. Or...
I think you've covered. I don't think I have anything like. Again, for fear of spoiling something, I don't think I have anything too specific to say.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, but you feel like you're deep in Act 2, like you've uncovered most of the map, probably.
In Act 2, yes. It's interesting. There's a bunch of directions I could go and stuff on my plate, and it's just a little bit of a feeling of like I don't want to do any of this. Like, it's like. I don't know. I'm starting maybe to get to the point where I don't feel properly motivated.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I can think of one, like my impulse is like, I just want to start, going crazy and attacking everyone in this one area. But I also feel like that will have plot ramifications. And so I'm not. So maybe I just need to, let it go and be like, all right, you know what? Time to murder hobo for a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a tricky one, I guess. Yeah, and it's hard to tell. I mean, the game gives you the options of like murdering whoever you want, and there are quote unquote ramifications to it, but it does let you do that, and the game continues. So shrug.
And like where I am, I could narratively justify doing it.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
I think I probably know where you are, but okay. All right, that's all I got.
I mean, since we kind of shifted over to you, Dennis, how about you? What you got?
Sure. So what I've been playing instead of Baldur's Gate is Forza Motorsport.
Oh, okay.
And this game is surprisingly addictive.
Continuing to get use out of your wheel.
Yeah, loving playing it with a wheel. And it's really cool that they set up multiplayer events as race times. So when you browse multiplayer events, it'll show like race time X, Y, Z, and you choose the event based on the race time that you want to go to, which that gives you time in front of it to practice, gives you time to qualify, and then the race starts for everyone at that time. That makes it feel much more like a real event, I guess. Like it feels like you're joining an actual race day, which is really cool. And it is just a little bit too easy to chain those one into the other because you're like,
right.
Oh, there's another one, like entries closing in 3 minutes. I'll have just enough time to qualify and race on the next one, and you join. What you don't think about is like even if you join with just enough time to qualify, that's like 8 minutes to 10 minutes of qualifying and then 15 minutes of racing. That you're doing. And so, yeah, it's just really easy to lose a lot of time racing.
Yeah.
I've started to dabble in the open events. So there are spec events where like the car is tuned for you. And there's a limited stable of cars that have all been tuned to have around the same performance that you can choose from.
Okay.
And then there's open events where you just have to stay under a certain like performance limit for the car. They have a measure for like how high performing the car is, and it's like every 100 mark is a different level, and you just need to stay under a certain 100 mark.
So they take into account like handling, acceleration, top speed, that sort of thing. Okay.
Exactly, and it's like you can bring literally anything to this, but it needs to be 500 or lower. They just different classes of cars. I've started to dip into that and have more fun with that.
Sorry, I'm just picturing. Okay, I'm gonna put all 500 med points into handling, which means that I can't go anywhere. But if somebody runs into my car, it is not going anywhere. This thing sticks to the road.
Essentially, you put a giant brick. I have the opposite problem, which is I can't resist the urge to just at a certain point with cars you can do an engine swap, you just basically drop a ridiculously overpowered engine
Can you get a Fiat 500 as the chassis? Because I know at least in real life, Fiat 500 engine swaps are really funny.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if you could. I know you can do it with a Mini Cooper.
Get a cheap lift-off.
Yeah, same idea. Yeah,
That's probably my most fun is I took the Mini Cooper, just dropped a ridiculous engine into it, which spent all my points, by the way. I didn't do anything else to the car. And you just on that first straightaway, you're gone, and then you are either in the wall or very slow, getting the thing pointed in the new right direction on that first turn. But man, that's a good time.
But boy, you could reach that first turn very fast.
Oh yes, oh absolutely yes, and then you could reach your demise very shortly after if this was real life. So yeah, that's a good time. Is just taking stupid card builds into race. And do I end up at the back of the pack? Yes. But am I having fun? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The spec races I take a little bit more seriously, and it's funny. I think I've podiumed twice, and I've won in addition to that one race. So I guess podiumed 3 times, I should say. But I imagine like with actual racing, you pay a lot more attention to like how many places you gain from where you start. It's like, all right, I qualified 8th. My feeling of if I succeeded or not in this race is not if I won the race, but it's if I finished above 8th place. And that kind of becomes your determiner of success, which gives you a lot more leeway to just enjoy it, rather than feeling like you're missing something if you aren't the top car.
Mm-hmm.
And everything, water finds its level, I guess. That means that over the course of the race, you are closest to people that qualified around the same time as you, which means you're racing competitively within your little kind of sphere of influence in the race. And yes, first place might be broken away, and just unreachable for you. But because you're focused on just getting up a couple places from where you started, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only complaint that I still have is everyone drives just a little bit too crazy, especially on the first turn. Everyone's grouped together. It's still like a coin flip. Like I'm either going to get through this scrum by the skin of my teeth, or I'm going to get spun out and I'm going to be facing backwards on the other side of turn 1.
It becomes a burnout game.
Exactly.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah. No, burnout game is not a bad thing, but feeling like you're in a burnout game in Forza Motorsport, definitely isn't great. I haven't managed to flip a car yet, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've let my kids drive because where else are they going to get that opportunity?
They're going to see you playing with the steering wheel, and they're going to want to get up there and
which is was maybe a bad decision because they're not able to suspend disbelief, and it is very scary to suddenly realize I am out of control of this very powerful vehicle.
Okay, huh?
And so try and like not having the muscle memory built of how to brake.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they stood on the gas, reached the first turn, realized they were like, I need to slow down. And Luke, thank God I had the wheel clamped to the table. Luke like literally just pulled down on the wheel as hard as he could and almost upended the desk that has like the monitor and the wheel.
Oh man!
So I was like, maybe not. Okay,
yeah, not this time.
Not quite yet. But yeah, so they have flipped a car. I have not. But yeah, like I don't know how you solve that problem in a racing game that you want to keep somewhat realistic, because this is on Game Pass. It's available to everyone on the internet, which includes a lot of dumb people, it turns out. And a lot of people who don't taking the game seriously at all. And so when someone's given the choice of like, do I brake or do I just hit the person in front of me, you can find someone every race who's willing to just hit the person in front of them, which causes this giant scrum at turn 1.
So can you build your car around that? Like, can you just get like where they like cow catchers or something?
Man, I wish. I'm about to, because it like I talked last time about the AI judge that like assigns penalties. But like if you completely take me out Mad Max style and I'm in a ditch losing 10 seconds getting back on the track, and now at the back of the pack. And then you see blip, oh, they were penalized 2 seconds. Okay. Like maybe it's better if I'm the smasher rather than the smashee.
Mm-hmm.
But no, overall, and I should say that's even with me having a high safety rating. Like it happens at every level, and I'm not quite sure I understand
Some
that.
people just want to get smashed.
I guess, yeah.
Preach.
So yeah, that's Forza Motorsport. I'll take any questions on that, but I have another new to me game that I think will surprise you.
Oh, I mean, I'm ready to be surprised, but
Yeah,
right.
Go for it.
I, with my 9 and 7-year-old, have started playing Fortnite, or as they call it, Fortnite Battle Pass. It's like
they worked in the that's fun branding.
Dad, yeah, Dad, can we play Fortnite Battle Pass?
No. I played this for the first time. This was Will from Everything to Guppy invited me onto his stream and gave me like a list of stuff to do co-op, and I was like, I'd like to play Fortnite, try it out. And I've only played it for like 2.5 hours or whatever. You've had a different experience with it, but I know from whence you speak. Even with like modern, unless they've changed anything substantially in the past 2 weeks, which
they definitely have.
They definitely have. Yeah. Continue.
So I don't say that facetiously. That's very much their thing. Is
it changes under you.
Yeah.
Like they just added an Alan Wake mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What?
They added Alan Wake as a playable character.
Okay, I'm not surprised at that because there's everything.
Which is funny because he's just a guy.
Mm-hmm. True, guy with a flashlight.
So here's a fun little tie-in to early in the episode. So yeah, I was like, you know what? I can put it on the PS4 and the Switch for them. I'll put it on the PC for me. We're all sitting in the same room together, and I don't have to be like on comms. You can turn off squad fill, so we're just playing trios.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels like a safe enough environment for them to start playing in. And it works spectacularly.
So even with Milo, he's got the dual stick moving and looking thing. Okay,
he is that sweet spot where I think it's just like in his DNA. Okay. Kids these days, man, they just come out knowing how to play.
I've got no idea how intuitive it is. Yeah, that's
the twin stick control you use in a lot of they play like a Minecraft alike called Portal Knights.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And other stuff, and that's kind of got the same control scheme. It was actually me seeing them play that and be like, okay, you guys are pretty competent, like managing the camera and all that. That lets them in. So the first week, we're playing and they're like, Dad, can we have Fortnite Battle Pass? They're so excited, and I'm like, no, you don't need the Battle Pass. Like, we got the Battle Pass for Minecraft Dungeons, and they got like 3 levels of it, and then forgot about it. So I don't want to do that. Yeah. Whatever. But literally I would hear them up in their rooms singing Fortnite Battle Pass. God. Fortnite.
I'm sorry. That's really creepy that got into their heads like that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I think it's like friends at school talking about it or whatever. But so went away this weekend and was, processing some stuff. Like in my childhood, I was always made to feel bad for liking video games because it was somehow like a vice or whatever. Mm-hmm. And in general, it was just like if I genuinely liked and was excited about anything, it was kind of used as leverage over me. Like it was always in the context of like, well, that's going to get taken away if you're in trouble or whatever. And I'm like, I've been looking my entire life forward to creating a different atmosphere for my kids, and this is the most excited I've seen them about anything in a long time. So I got back from man camp, booted up the PS4 and Switch, and bought them both the Crew Pass, which is the Battle Pass, then plus some extra spending cash for the store. Mm-hmm. It's got like little extra cosmetics or whatever. I was like, all right, I am all in. And so I think I had left on a note of something. They were going crazy, and I was like, you guys, I'm gonna, you're gonna lose Fortnite Battle Pass. Or no, it's just Fortnite. Damn it! I'm just gonna lose Fortnite if see, I'm doing it to myself. Mm-hmm. You're gonna lose this if you don't, whatever. And that's what kind of made me had the ping of like, oh, I've heard that before on the other side. That sucks.
Yeah.
So took him downstairs. Like, all right, listen, we're not playing Fortnite. And we're not playing Fortnite Battle Pass, okay? And they're like, okay. We're playing Fortnite Crew Pass. And you think I'd announce, like, I don't know, Taylor Swift is in the room or something.
Yeah.
Like they went nuts.
Nice.
And so we've been playing together most nights ever since, and that's been a blast.
So what are the I don't know, what are the like dumb temporary weapons they have running right now?
Yeah, so right now they've got something called the rocket ram, which is
okay, yeah.
it's a battering ram that also functions as like a rocket that you hold on to and can fly with. And so you can drive that into an enemy, obviously. You can use it for transportation. And then it can blow through the wall, the first wall it hits. So you can kind of use it to get into certain areas. By the way, we are a no-build family. Thank you very much, because I do not want that in my life, having to figure out the...
I played a couple of games in build, and it just kind of seemed like a way for somebody to instantly erect a shield anytime they were under fire.
Yeah, and just like...
It's like the freaking puffer fish. Like the moment anything startles someone, just like a house appears.
Yeah.
This is my emergency house.
Yes. And I think I might have played one game in build with them, and they got stuck in the build menu and didn't know how to turn it off.
Yep.
It seems really frustrating.
That's exactly what it was. And it was like, all right, I don't like this. You don't like this. Let's stay away from this.
Yeah.
But we've also played it's called Horde Rush mode. I think this is a special like Halloween themed mode.
Oh, really?
They're like kind of zombies, but they're made out of like obelisk cubes. It's a whole thing.
There is a bizarrely in-depth backstory to Fortnite.
Okay, this is an official mode, so I'm sure it ties into that.
Yeah.
But basically, you drop into an area and have to just survive while waves of these zombies come at you. And then the storm circle, that defines what area you can play in, will kind of float across the map, and so you have to survive, but on the move. Mm-hmm. It'll center on another area. You survive there, and there's some like more powerful enemies that start showing up. Circle moves again, and then there's a final boss that appears in the area that has a ridiculous amount of health and everything. It's the hardest swarm. We have yet to completely fell the final boss. It probably had 3% health left on one try. But that's been a really fun mode to play as well. So between that and no build, we're kind of getting the Fortnite experience such as it is. But yeah, mostly it's just been a fun way to hang out with Luke and Milo.
No.
And funny enough, it's like suddenly I'm in the position of being a coach. I've never been interested in coaching, like for a football team or something like that. That just sounds like torture to me. But like sitting down with them after a game, being like, okay, so what happened there was we focused on reviving a down teammate instead of finishing the fight, which makes us vulnerable because you have to stand still to revive, right? Oh yeah. So I was like, you guys, here, you stand stand still for 10 seconds. I'll count it out. 1, 2, 3. And they start laughing and giggling. It's like, see, that's a really long time to have to stand still. So we want to finish the fight before we revive.
Yeah.
So that is as close as I think I'll get to coaching.
As a side note, make sure you try before it's away. There is currently a game mode that is literally Alan Wake. Like, not just the character, like literally like monsters and ghosts and mysteries and shit.
Yeah,
really?
And does it have the Alan Wake mechanic where you've got to flashlight them to make them vulnerable kind of thing? That's cool.
Wow. I haven't messed around with any of that.
Yeah, the degree to which they are all in on adding random new mechanics is pretty impressive.
Well, there's always a big swath of alternate game modes in the menu.
Yeah,
and the one that we tried was broken in some way. I don't know why. We jumped into it. It would say round start and then immediately end and declare one of us the winner. And it's like I don't know what happened here.
I mean,
so we just gave up on the alternate modes after that.
There are so many of them, and it feels like a detriment actually, because when I fired up Fortnite in order to like not hop onto somebody's stream and be completely like just a babe in the woods kind of deal, I was like, okay, so which of these is Fortnite? Like, just give me
yes,
just give me some Fortnite-ass Fortnite. And it
I
was
would
not
like one Fortnite, please.
Yeah, and it was actually pretty hard to tell like what I should sign up for given the big smattering of things that were available.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And there is a like made by Epic playlist of modes, I guess, but it's like further down, you got to scroll to that, and then it's like, okay, well, which one of these is the Fortnite mode? Yeah, I could see that being really confusing, especially like if they were playing without me there, they would be completely lost and probably wind up hating it because they wouldn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, the density of information you have to deal with before you can just play the game.
Yeah, I think with the alternate game modes, it's probably best to think of them like Mario Maker, where like unless you are committed to being the person that finds the next big thing, you should probably just play like the ones that are the top whatever % most popular.
Right.
Yeah, very fair. Last thought is I knew this was true about toy stores. I now know it's true about digital stores as well. This also is just a shopping simulator for the kids.
Yeah.
And they will browse the store ad nauseum, never have to actually buy anything. It's just they like browsing. And on a rainy day, like if I got to do something with them, we'll go to like King Arthur's Toys over in Oakley or something like that. Like giant fun toy store.
That's a cool store.
It's
that was within
store.
walking distance of my old place, and I felt weird being a 30-year-old man walking there just to look around. I don't think I ever bought anything, but it was just like I just want to go be around some toys.
Yeah. And yeah, so like we have the digital version of that now where they just scroll. Yeah. And the funniest thing is like they're going through Dragon Ball Z stuff and Rick and Morty stuff. They have no idea what any of it means.
Right.
Like, the Walking Dead characters. They're like, oh, this one looks cool. And it's like, oh, if you knew what that thing actually was. Yeah. So
did they fall prey to the innate magnetism of a Super Saiyan? Which is like a kid sees a Super Saiyan and it's like, I want a piece of that. I want to play as that.
No, so Luke, who's a very musical kid, is just buying music tracks left and right.
Okay.
And that's he just in the menus. He now always has a track. There's like Kid Lowry and whatever on the store there. But that's like my impulse was to be like, no, don't waste your money. You gotta buy the bundle and get all the stuff. But then it's like, you know what?
He can make
he likes. Yeah, he likes music, and he can get music, and he hasn't regretted it for a second. So
cool.
Yeah.
So is their allowance?
Excellent bonding.
Has their allowance shifted over to V-Bucks now?
No, I have not. I have not let them spend any of their own money on it.
Got it.
That's the rule.
Like all of my questions about this are not about the game; it's about parenting. Like, is this something that they can play on their own, or is this strictly a like a family time, everybody's together kind of activity?
Only with me, and we do have a final slot, and I've told Jen multiple times, like, hey, babe. You wanna get in on this?
Oh, Barrett's, see, I thought this quickly. Was gonna be like only with me, and don't tell your mother.
So no, like it would be like you on the Steam Deck, and she would hop on the PC or something like that. Or
exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's how we would do. Or maybe I'd stick her on a Steam. I don't want to play it with a controller.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we're doing it. They have friends in the neighborhood, and they've exchanged gamer tags with those friends. And I invited them as well, so they've got me added. I've never seen them on, and just haven't bothered because it's so easy to hop into trios.
Have you guys won a match yet?
We won like our first 5 because it's all against bots.
Oh, got it.
And I think even when playing, once you're in the game proper, there's a fair number of bots that are dropped in.
Yeah.
I've got a buddy that plays pretty regularly and on stream, and I've heard him make comments. It's like, okay, that group is bots. Don't worry. Like, oh no, that's reals.
Yeah. The one negative thing I've found is that like the first couple weeks after a new battle pass drops, games are filled with, for lack of a better word, players who are laser focused on winning as opposed to having fun. And if that's not you, it's just not a good time. Like, that's actually why I stopped playing. It's just like, I'm like, I guess I'll try back in a couple weeks, and then just kind of, fell off of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so okay, let's go there. If we were to team up and play with, say, Uncle Kole or Uncle David or Uncle Ben, I could see that happening real easy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, let's do a thing.
I've got to find. I can't. I had an old USB headset, so I've got my headset. I've got a headset that plugs into the Switch, and I had a USB headset for the PS4, but I think I might have thrown it away or put it somewhere I can't remember. Literally like 2 weeks ago. Literally as close to making the decision to start playing Fortnite with them as possible. Which I was looking for it just because I think they would geek out on the cool factor of like, we're all on comms together. Check.
Yeah.
We make up code names or whatever.
Every kid likes a walkie-talkie.
Oh yeah. Oh, their names, because like this is a formative moment, right? Like whatever screen name you pick now is gonna run with you. I'm still on the first screen name I ever picked for myself.
Green Laser,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Milo is Moose Moose, which makes sense.
Good. That's a really good name.
Yeah, that's his nickname anyway. And I was like, Luke, what do you want to be? He's like, I want to be Half-Born.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Really?
Okay.
Yes.
He's like, it sounds cool.
I mean,
was like,
with that name, has he tried Counter-Strike 2?
No. What's the connection?
Horrible screen names.
Okay, yes. But it's like, if you don't think about it too much, I guess it does kind of have a ring to it. But sure. So Green Laser, Half-Born, and Moose Moose rampaging around.
Oh, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, that sounds like a very good time. Good.
Yeah, it's been delightful.
So this is only tangentially related, but just like, I know nothing of music. I don't listen to modern music, but I like listening to like the various NPR shows where they'll just like, I don't know, interview whoever the kids are listening to these days.
Tiny Desk Concert.
Yeah, and I love that like it's now become a thing that like all these people, particularly like in genres like EDM and rap, where it's more fanciful names. All these people that like, they're like, oh, how'd you come up with a name? And they're like, oh yeah, that's like my screen name when I was like 12.
Yeah,
I love that.
Great.
That is a thing.
That's funny. David, how about you?
So I've had two things. So first off, in keeping with the spirit of the season, World of Horror has finally had its 1.0 release.
Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah, it's a funny thing because a lot of the reason I fell away from it is the developer had kind of this weird thing where he just, I don't know if it's he or she, but they, I guess, just kept kind of like not, being radio silent for like months on end.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot of speculation that the game had just become abandonware.
Oh no.
And granted, like I fell away from it. I presume there were intermediary updates, but either way, it's released now.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we've talked about it before, but just for listeners that might not, this is a game that is very heavily inspired by kind of a combination of Junji Ito and is it Takashi Mike?
Takashi Miike. Yeah.
Miike? And I've only seen you can actually fight him in this game, so I've only seen his name in text.
Yeah,
and like Japanese like high school I guess like urban legend horror stories, stuff like that.
Yeah, you got some. Just general like ghost story kind of stuff thrown in there.
Right, exactly.
It's like roguelike stories that are kind of almost like just issues, like one-off like comic issues.
Yep.
That are happening. At X-Files Monster of the Week, like in this Japanese town where things are going very wrong.
Right. And basically, you have to complete 5 of these standalone missions before your doom counter reaches 100, which represents that some ancient evil god will arrive and destroy the town, or sometimes the planet. It varies.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a interesting game because I want to say this is 100% a game I recommend. But it's kind of interesting because the gameplay is in some ways kind of meh. It really almost ends up being kind of a mashup of like a visual novel and mostly like a resource balancing game.
Yeah, it's like a choose your own adventure with like limited exploration, where encounters, be they combat or struggling against some kind of force or trying to accomplish something, are handled in like turn based kind of deals. Yeah.
Yeah, my big complaint from the gameplay, and this is very much I feel obligated to get my complaints out of the way so that I can start talking more about like what's really awesome about this, is just it doesn't really do a particularly effective job of, I guess, kind of signposting any of the decisions you're making. So like the example I'd give is there'll be a lot of things where it's like, oh, you see a strange closet that you never noticed before, and like your option might be to walk up and open it. But the thing is, you have no way of knowing like, is this gonna be someone's going to jump out at me? So it's a dexterity save, or like, is this going to be knowledge so that I can interpret whatever I find, or basically there's no way other than just playing the game a lot and memorizing it of actually kind of intuiting what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the case. I mean, like that was one of the reasons that I kind of bowed out of it, was knowing that it was unfinished. It's like, oh, like I'm like it's repetitive content, right? Like you run these scenarios, kind of knowing what is possible. There's a little bit of variance on it, but like that's the trouble closet.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And and it does have the actual decisions you're making are a lot of fun because they range from just fairly trivial, like you walk up to a vending machine as they like, do you want the cheap drink or the expensive drink?
It's like, oh man, why you're sweating? Like, why are you asking me this?
Right, exactly. They do some of the like Fall in London thing where it's like blatantly bad ideas. So it's like you walk into the morgue and there's like something under a sheet. Do you want to go look at it?
Or it's the or it's like I love when they do the vending machine kind of thing, where it's the DM who just asks you like a very trivial question and then rolls a dice and goes and then says continue.
Yes, exactly.
Or you're like, I touched the thing, and they go, what hand are you touching it with?
Right, exactly.
It's really basic, storytelling tricks, but it works every time. But to kind of expand on what you're saying, David, is like failing interestingly is a very fun part of this. Specifically because of the visual. So this is the game. If you've seen screenshots of it, you'll know it immediately because it's 1-bit style. Everything is done either in black or white, and this incredibly intricate. What at one point was effectively MS Paint kind of artwork, but done very much in the Junji Ito body horror kind of style. But that kind of monochrome 1-bit style is pulling directly from the old Infocom, not Infocom, the old Mac Venture games, ICOM. Like a Shadowgate Uninvited or whatever, where you would, you die, but the way that you die is handled so entertainingly that you don't really feel too bad, right? So your characters end up transformed beyond recognition by horrors, beyond your comprehension. But it is still like, okay, that is still a cool horror story, and I'm gonna be restarting this anyway. So fuck them.
It's also got kind of an interesting thing. It's a lot. The meta progression is you completing. I'm going to explain this in the other thing. The other kind of interesting thing of the presentation is almost everything is a card, and so you'll very much see like this card will come up. It's like 103 out of 192 of like I don't know this timeline and this setting and stuff like that. And part of that plays in one to the fact that the meta progression is basically you completing achievements to unlock these cards, but then also the game is very, very mod friendly in that like
you can bring in new scenarios.
You can create, my understanding is, your whole other mysteries to solve. But you can also just create random cards that are just kind of like one-off, mini events.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have to say, the achievements are very, very fun. A lot of them are just crazy random. I think the most bizarre is What's the indie bullet hell game that like spawns like half the internet memes?
Toho?
Yes. Yeah. There is one of the achievements is straight up some Japanese songwriter made some song where she happens to repeatedly just kind of, which, with a woo being a thing, became a thing.
Are you referring to Warren Zevon's Werewolves in London?
No. Okay. This is, it's Junko's phone number.
Okay. I'm not aware.
Huh. And so someone then took this song, made a fan video of it with the little like dog creature from that game. And so if you basically take the in-game phone and dial in the phone number that is part of the lyrics of that song, you will get an achievement.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So my point being, like, some of this is just really bonkers, silly stuff.
Just plugged into the culture kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right. There's also, like, one of the random events is you meet someone that's like a thinly disguised, like not legally distinct from Junji Ito, and just like help him finish one of his stories.
Yep, that was there in the early access too. One of the, like, how sometimes you see a creator like something cool happens to him and you just like you feel good because of that. But as part of the promotion for the 1.0 of this, the creator of this game, whose screen name or ID I forget, got to like interview and talk to Junji Ito.
Oh, really?
And
I missed that.
It's like a huge like, oh, good for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Happiness by proxy.
Yeah.
So, really, really great game. Some of the highlights I've had so far, just in terms of like dumb stuff that has happened. Normally in this game, your character is not particularly good at combat.
Right.
Like, combat is like half something that is in the game for you to like learn to avoid it and mitigate it, and half something that's in the game just to like give you horrible injuries to fit with like the body horror theme.
The status of a game in this is on point. You can just be afflicted with holes.
Yep.
Is this some Binding of Isaac's level shit?
Yeah. Exactly. However, if you just max out a stat and get a fairly good weapon, by the end you can become fairly broken. So like in one of my playthroughs, I just at the start like got the steak knife and spent literally every point I had in dexterity, which ends up giving you like 8 attacks per round. And I basically became who's the clinically depressed devil hunter from Chainsaw Man?
I forget her name. I'm sorry.
But yeah, that was basically me for the last half of the game. Like, I had no points in anything that would help me deal with like any of the horrible things that I was witnessing, but I was really good at knifing things.
Nice.
The other one that's hilarious to me is there's. This is only slightly a spoiler. There is a scenario where in one of the missions where the local high school gets possessed. Like, literally, you are fighting the school building.
Yeah.
And when you go to attack it, all of your weapon attacks are disabled because, like, hey, this is literally a building. My steak knife strategy is no good here. However, there is a spell that gives you basically causes you to grow extra teeth. And like in body horror style, they are literally depicted as just like a second row of teeth like growing in that gives you a extra an additional melee attack. And however, because the melee attack originated from a spell, it's technically spell damage, not melee damage. So I literally bit a school building to death.
I like that. If I was fighting a building, I would leave out tool sheds as a lure. And then while I was eating those, I would send somebody inside to sabotage the boiler.
That seems
Shining
logical.
style.
Yeah, Shining style, precisely.
But yeah, it's a really cool game. It's got a neat thing where all of the missions have multiple ways to resolve them, and a lot of them are really obscure. So there's things where, for example, some of the endings you can only get if you earlier in the run do a different mission and end it a certain way. But that's honestly kind of all I have on that without spoiling anything.
I mean, it's just a bunch of really, really cool little short stories with a roguelike structure built on top of it.
Exactly.
Like, it's kind of hard to recommend against. I have like read the complaints about it. I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, I can see that. But like the fundamental idea is still very sound to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice.
The other thing I picked up is Laika Aged in Blood.
Laika spelled like the
dog,
like
right?
the space dog.
Okay.
Yep. So basically, this is a game where you are a mother coyote who is like part of a like indigenous tribe that is kind of in the process of being I guess colonized or whatever by birds.
Okay.
And in order to fight back, you basically ride around on a dirt bike and like shoot at them. And so this game is basically like Metroidvania style style platforming with a side-scrolling like shooting type mechanic, but all of the movement is basically Excite Bike style.
Oh,
it's like it looks like Trials, that one motorcycle game or whatever.
Yeah, Trials.
I could see that. It's very much like when you're in the air, you have to press like forward and back to kind of rotate in the air in order to land squarely so that you don't wreck.
Does that also change your aim? Like, are you taking risks to shoot things at weird angles and then trying to realign so you can land safely? Or
well, so what it is it doesn't actually affect your shooting, but your bike itself will block bullets. So there's things where like you want to like angle your bike, to block incoming fire. And then also, like, the starting gun you have, and I know you get more, but my understanding is they never get too far from this, but you start out with a revolver with 2 shots, and in order to reload, you have to do a backflip.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool.
Similarly, it's a thing where, like I said, this is a side scroller, and you're always... I mean, as long as you have the gas put down, you're always moving forward. You can't turn. What you do is you press, on a controller, it's the X button, and you basically kind of do this sort of a Akira slide and change directions.
That's really smart.
And the cool thing is that's also how you do like perfect parries to reflect bullets back at enemies.
Oh, this sounds really smart.
And then you, in order to recharge your ability to do that, you have to do a front flip. So the game is very much about your, adjusting, controlling your bike, the weight distribution, whatever you want to think of it, with your left stick, aiming with the right stick, and then keeping track of like, how many bullets do I have? Do I need to, how do I need to take out these enemies with my limited resources? That sort of thing.
Yeah, and if reloading is pinned to jumping, that also ties it to the level geometry too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very cool game. Amazing idea. The thing I'm running into is it's also one of the most difficult games I've ever played.
It sounds like a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, it's very and in particular it's very manual dexterity oriented in terms of there definitely is the what I'd almost describe as like the Hotline Miami element to it, by which I mean there's definitely an element to the gameplay that's all about like, here's all these threats, how do I prioritize dealing with them in order to get through this situation? But then at the same time, you're having to control both sticks independently, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
My personal feeling, and I would love to see them patch this in, is the shooting does have some auto aim, but you still need to be pretty close. I personally think it would be better if they the shooting is already almost more of like a mechanical choice or like a addition to your platforming that is real quote unquote combat. And I feel like it would kind of be better to just make the option at least to enable a super strong auto aim. So you just kind of point in the general direction. It becomes less about the dexterity and more about the quick thinking.
Is there like a slow motion effect in this game at all?
Yes, there is. So that I will say that it does do bullet time when you're aiming, which does help some.
Okay. Is there difficulty settings on the game, like where it makes that more forgiving than not?
Not from what I've been able to see.
Okay.
This is a game that definitely seems to be leaning into like it is intended to be a difficult game. I do hope maybe they put in some concessions to accessibility.
Yeah.
But have to see. Other than that, the graphics are very well done. as are the level design and stuff like that. Your kid is literally named just Pup and is super adorable.
Mm-hmm.
As you're like, going through this wasteland and stuff like that, you're constantly getting these radio messages from like various family members and members of your tribe and stuff like that. One of the interesting things, like I said, it's very difficult, so I haven't gone very far, but at least so far, it seems like there's a big kind of theme and tension in terms of different people having very strong feelings on whether you should be fighting versus just trying to like appease the colonizers and like not be noticed.
No, there's nothing relevant about that.
Yeah, of course. So yeah. I mean, it seems like a really cool game, and it's one of those things. Honestly, I think there is a very good chance I don't play it that much more, just because, like I said, like the difficulty isn't clicking with me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those games I kind of don't feel too upset about it, just because it is such a unique and well thought through and interesting game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that speaks volumes already, I think.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I had never heard about this, but it sounds like a lot, but also like those trade-offs and the way that they work, pairing and reloading into the movement is, I don't know, I'm going to watch out for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
That's all I have.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer. Dennis, what did you ask the nice folks?
Yeah, sometimes things are great just the way they are, and adding to it will not improve it. So, what is a game that you absolutely love, but that you wouldn't want to see get a sequel or spin-off, crossover, etc.?
Yeah. I'll get us started here with Peter, who says, I'm kind of stumped because there's nothing that immediately comes to mind that I wouldn't want more of in some shape or form, or there is at least nothing that immediately comes to mind. I guess I'd have to cast a vote. If I had to cast a vote, I would say ZHP, Zetai Hero Projects, Unloosing Ranger versus Dark Death Evil Man. You're making that up.
He's got a picture for evidence.
Yeah. Funny thing about pictures.
No, you can chat GPT anything these days.
Sure.
I have no idea what any of that is, so I will take your word for it. Ben, what does Callum say?
Callum says, weirdly enough, Baldur's Gate 2, the Ball Spawn saga was nicely completed. As good as it seems Baldur's Gate 3 is, it probably shouldn't be a numbered title.
Yeah, probably. Let's see. David, what does David say? I didn't do that intentionally. I'm sorry.
David says, as much as I love Disco Elysium, I would rather it stay as just one beautiful contained experience. Especially now that it seems like the original creative minds and no longer involved with the company.
No. That's true. They're going to do something else with it, and they're making that TV show. So who knows? Dennis, what does the other David say?
They say definitely 100% Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, it's a real bummer that Separate Ways basically guarantees that we are going to get a RE5 remake next, unless they pull a curveball and remake RE1 to give you the Wesker backstory. I really don't want them to remake Resident Evil 5. They really don't have to do that.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of Resident Evil 6, but I feel like 5 to me is kind of the neither fish nor fowl of the series.
Yeah.
Where it's not normal enough to still be like Resident Evil 4, but not just batshit crazy enough to be super fun.
And also just the really unfortunate, speaking of colonial stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't know. You can leave that chapter behind, I think. Greg writes, nothing. If I love something, I'd always be down to see more of it, even if it goes in a direction that I hadn't expected. Even if the end result turns out to be not great, at least I can say they tried. And it makes me revel in the original product even more. Yeah.
The maximalist view.
Good way to put it. Ben, what does Ollie say?
Ollie says, Night in the Woods. That's a perfectly self-contained little story that has a bunch of great characters and plot beats that I think could only be made worse by a sequel and or prequel or sequel. Sidequel for the last one. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it and hope nothing more ever comes of it.
Yeah.
Fair.
I mean, and Scott Benson, he's working on that other game that is unrelated but has a similar art style. Yeah. He probably has like more stories about small town America in him, you know, and I would check him out. But like, I don't know, Night in the Woods is a pretty good statement.
Yeah, you don't need it to be a direct sequel. I'm fine with like tonal additions.
Yeah, but like I like where May ended up. That's a good ending.
That was a very, very difficult game for me to play.
No, it's rough. Yeah.
Well, I started playing it right after I moved back home with my parents because I couldn't find a job.
Yeah.
On point.
Little bit. Yeah. Well, let's see. David, what does Random Sum say?
Random says, Hollow Knight, I tell myself as cope.
Yeah.
I assume it's just referencing its difficulty, or? No.
I'll reference it as Seethe. Just the fact that Silksong doesn't exist. It's fake. They made it up.
Oh, really?
No, it's just it's been coming for a very long time, and seems like it's never going to get here. Yeah. Let's see, Dennis. What does Case say?
Case says easy answer would be Spiritfarer. It's a game about death and endings, and for it to get a sequel or spinoff feels like it would cheapen the message of the game.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Threnza writes, Pyre from Supergiant was a wonderful visual novel / sports game hybrid that had a fantastic story and fun gameplay that absolutely doesn't need to be expanded upon. My ending felt good and final, and I had just enough of the sports part without it wearing out its welcome. Yeah, I was about to say that Supergiant doesn't necessarily seem that interested in doing sequels, but then I forgot we're getting Hades 2. So...
Yeah, I wonder what happened there. Like, just it did so well that they had to, or what?
I think that it
wasn't really a game so much as a horniness simulator.
It was also a pretty good game, but like the cultural footprint that had, I'd be curious if they can recreate that, given the fact that that was a kind of a not perennial because it means it happens multiple times, but that was kind of a quintessential pandemic game when the full version of it came out. So, but yes. Related,
it's also like there's only so many gods in the pantheon. Come on now.
Related to that, David, what does JW say?
JW says, Transistor for me, it's my favorite game, and it's perfect as a standalone experience, in my opinion.
Yeah. Also, a lot about finality. Yeah.
I feel like I want to negotiate with this one. Can we have no more Transistor, but just make a little bit more Transistor soundtrack?
I mean, I was about to say you could just listen to more soundtracks by that person, but that's just
I do.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Oh man, that's a good soundtrack. Finally here, Ben, what does the Ugly Machine say?
The Ugly Machine says, "Call me old-fashioned, but hoop and stick. Nothing gets the humors going like the sound of buckle shoes racing down the cobblestone alleyways, trying to keep that hoop rolling as much as I can before the consumption finally claims me." Okay, real answer is Pictionary. Pretty much any attempt to add to it or make it different has taken away the chaotic random fun to be had from suggestions in a hat to be drawn.
Yeah.
Counterpoint, Fibbage.
Or what is it? Drawful is the drawing one. Yeah. Oh man, Gartic Phone is really good. I like that. Yeah. But I can take your meaning to it. There's a purity to Pictionary. Although it's fun playing with a very outdated set of cards from Pictionary. Like, just like, how the fuck am I supposed to draw Merv Griffin? It's like, okay.
I assume that's Peter Griffin's father.
No.
I realize that's not actually the case, but
yes, a talk show host. is who Merv Griffin was. My answer on this, and this is just because it's top of mind for me, but Signalis. Just an indie horror game, sci-fi kind of deal. Like that story, it is an expansive world that they, could have, that there are other stories that could be told, but it feels so centered on the, the journey that your character makes. That doing something else that attempted to play with those same themes would feel strange to me. I don't think it would be impossible. I would just rather that team make something new because I like seeing new stuff. So, Ben, how about you?
I think for similar rationale, I'm going to say Inside, where I feel like that's a pretty airtight, perfect game. And so any sort of extension to it would probably make it lesser, make the whole experience lesser.
Mm-hmm. Also, where do you start in that sequel based on what happens at the end?
We got to break them bodies apart.
Blob game.
it's Pikmin.
David, how about you?
So, first I want to say, I actually hadn't thought about this before, but I kind of like setting aside Hades 2, the Supergiant approach of, we're not going to make sequels, but we are going to make games that are, direct extensions of, if you liked this, you will like the game we're making.
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's kind of their trick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think the thing I'd go with is Max Payne 2. It's just a great game, and it also has one of my favorite endings of any game.
You're going to be real disappointed when I break this news to you.
There's somebody on the podcast who liked Max Payne 3, right? Was it you, Cole?
So I thought it was fine. I
like the gameplay of Max Payne 3. I don't like the fact that they basically just the ending of Max Payne 2 doesn't happen.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't end up with Mona. Is that the thing?
No, not that one. The fact that I really like there's a game that was willing to take the stand of he does not end up with Mona. Mona's dead, and that's all right.
Sorry. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's been a very long time since I played these.
There is a special ending where she does survive and that sort of thing, but the canonical ending is basically that he realizes that he needs to live his life and come to terms with the sufferings he's experienced and become a better person.
Gotcha.
And then Max Payne 3 is but what if you were just an alcoholic
in Brazil?
Gameplay's good in 3 though.
Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I used it in the picture. I honestly think they should leave or should have left Hellblade as a singular experience.
Yeah.
Love that game. I don't have any opinions on the sequel, but it feels to me like something that needs to stay as a singular expression of its ideas.
You don't want to be the person who says they wouldn't make that today because they already made it. It already exists. But I've got real problems in hindsight, and even when I played it a few years after it was made, with treating mental illness as a superpower, like it is in that.
Fair enough.
We don't have to have a whole discussion about it. I wonder if part of them taking a second bite at that is to attempt to kind of address or find a way around that problem, or if they're just going to make it the same game.
I think they should just go with Hellgun now.
just go up the go up the ladder. Hell nuke.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was a good question. Thank you, Dennis, for posting that more than a week ago because of my dumb tooth. But yes, if you would like to participate in these in the future, you can go to Facebook, the Duckfeed community group, and watch for those prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. The End Boss. Now it is time for The End Boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games and how we feel about them. Ben, you've got a story about something I wasn't sure existed anymore.
Yeah, I think that's true of most of the world as well. Just yesterday, I think, of the time of recording this, they announced that Star Citizen, the single player part of it, which is called Squadron 42, is feature complete. And so that means they're done putting all the features in the game, and they're going to start polishing, fixing bugs and performance things. So why is this a big deal? This game has been in development for like the past 11 years now, and has had over $600 million of funding. And note that that's spread across the two different versions of the game. There's the MMO part of the game, and then this is the single player part of the game. And so they released like a 20-minute video that I kind of skimmed through that shows some of the gameplay of it and kind of, you know, what's there and what needs to be improved upon. The thing that's interesting is that, you know, this kind of message coming on the heels of what's the one Bethesda game that just came out, Starfield, and and No Man's Sky already coming out in the time that this has been in development, are kind of competitors to this game that did not exist when they were starting out making this game. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, if this is going to be unique or if this is now just going to be samey with those other games that have come out and not be able to distinguish itself. So yeah, there's like recognizable actors in this, I guess, that they brought in like years ago, like mid development, like Gillian Anderson and Gary Oldman and stuff like that. So that, like, that's kind of interesting as well. But also
they brought him in when he was a Gary young man.
Did you know that Gary Newman is 1 day older than Gary Oldman?
What?
Yeah, it's just one of those facts. It's just one of those facts you can always deploy. Yeah, no. My only like input on this is I went to the IMDb page for Squadron 42, and I was just looking down, trying to see how many of the top billed actors are dead.
Oh, Jesus.
because of how long it's been there. Not to be morbid, but it's just like, what do you do in that case if you've already gotten all their performances brought in? And not as many as I thought. So there, at least there's that.
That's good. I think a fun fact is like the initial release date for this game was 2016, so it is definitely overshot that. So who knows? Maybe, hopefully, this will be better than what is The Last Guardian. Hopefully, this will be better than that as far as the hype to quality ratio. But
I'm interested to see how the bed sheets work out.
Bed sheets.
I don't think I understand
at one point, one of the features they were like adding or delaying for was bed sheet physics.
That is really dumb.
Well,
that is.
One note that I saw like in the demo for the game is that they wanted to try and make everything immersive. Like anytime you interact with a door or an elevator or whatever, there's like bespoke hand animations to like, you know, turn a wheel or something like that to make something happen. So I could see them going as far as having bedsheet physics for when you lie down.
Tell me you completely lack focus without telling me you completely lack focus.
Yeah, that's some ADHD ass hyperfixation, actually.
I mean, I can understand it if you're trying to make like an immersive experience and it's like first person. I can understand that sort of prioritization, but I don't know.
I just imagine that's like the special reloads in Battlefield or whatever. Like you walk up to the door and just like hand jive with the doorknob and it opens.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where it's like when you have a game that's been in development for 11 years, like you're going to catch some strays for like anything that you have in the game because it's like everyone's going to say 11 years to do this.
Yeah.
So
that's.
Who knows?
I hope it's good because I want more good things to be in the world, but I've got a lot of. I don't know. Just from the way they funded it, it does draw some negative emotion. I have negative associations with it.
Yeah. And then beyond that, I don't know if they have a release date for it, or I haven't seen that in the articles that I've read. So, sure.
Yeah. Let's see what we have next here. Hey, Dennis, what's going on with Lords of the Fallen?
Yeah, this is less because I care about Lords of the Fallen and more just because I think it's an interesting window into kind of how we experience games now. Lords of the Fallen is going to get a patch that tweaks the difficulty of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the game is caught flack because your basic enemy mobs will, follow you for a very long time, and there are a lot of them, and so it's just kind of hard to get away once you're engaged. And what they're going to go do is patch that to reduce the number of enemies and reduce the amount of distance that those enemies will follow you. That's fine by me. I don't need the game to be super duper impossible hard to enjoy it. And this will maybe allow more people to hang out with the game or experience the game than would before. So great. But it is just interesting to realize we're at this point that pretty much any game that you're going to play, when you're trying to like share your experience with it, it's going to be like, oh, I played on this patch when it was this way.
Oh yeah.
And that difference can vary so much. And we've seen that with Dark Souls and stuff like that.
That was especially the case with Elden Ring. Like, which version of Radon did you fight?
Exactly. Yeah. So, that Lords of the Fallen is not immune to that, and for better or for worse. I thought I'd just throw it out there and get people's reactions to that kind of thing being normal for games now.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. It's a feature, not a bug.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think about that it's just going to change? There's no option to see it the original way.
It'd be cool if there was like an archival way to go back to it, like a patch selector. I think certain like mods of Minecraft let you do that. Yeah, I wish that was the case, but also I would not take away the ability to address unintentional things like this, or to respond to feedback. Right.
Yeah, I guess that's what gets me is, this isn't an unintentional problem that they're fixing. This is they at least I think put out what they intended it to be. People were like, yeah, I'm not sure about that, and then they changed it.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a bad idea to play games in these walled gardens where the developer decides when a patch gets applied, as opposed to you downloading and applying the patch when you want to.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
So what is, this is off topic, but what is the pitch for Lords of the Fallen? Because it kind of seems to me like this is just like the least creative take on Soulsborne, in that what if we just do the exact same setting as the Souls games?
It is dumber Dark Souls. That was more so the case, especially in the 2013 Lords of the Fallen, which did not bring.
Has anyone
an
played
awful
the reboot?
I played the first couple of hours, and I didn't necessarily care for it very much. Maybe this patch addresses that, but yeah. But the big mechanical hook that I saw in this one, Lords of the Fallen 2023, or what have you, is a lantern that you get. Basically, they're doing a light world, dark world kind of thing, where you can traverse between the two of them. And they're different enemies, slightly different geography, kind of doing almost a it seems like they are fainting toward a Soul Reaver kind of deal with it.
Okay, that's maybe something. I don't know. Yeah. My take with the original one is just I'm kind of tired of medieval setting.
Yep. I don't know. It's I think it's good.
I mean, I was just curious.
Let's see. I've got one that I am more interested in. This is like a PSA kind of deal. It's no secret that I love Amnesia: The Bunker. I think it's one of the best games that has been released this year. I think that if survival horror went more in this direction, everybody would benefit. I pray that this game is as influential as Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Who knows if it will be. But for people who are like me, who are tuned in, who are with it, you should be aware that Amnesia: The Bunker is getting a Halloween update that is actually pretty substantial. Bringing in two modes, which are kind of the highlight here: Shell Shock mode and custom mode. Where Shell Shock mode basically takes everything and doesn't just make it harder, the enemy, the enemy, the monster that's chasing you is more aggressive or comes after you, but takes it down to okay, that indestructible door for your safe area, well, now that's wooden. so he can get through that if he wants to. Suddenly, no more safe area. Now it requires resources to get through these trapdoors. Things like that. So like a difficulty even beyond hard that does more than just monkey with the numbers to make it more difficult. That is cool to me. I am interested in playing that. If you want to monkey with the numbers and make it harder in a different way or make it easier, there's the custom mode, which basically opens up a whole bunch of parameters and sliders to change around resource spawns, to change around which of the enemy spawn areas are active. To pick like what item spawns are more randomized, things like that. And you can also randomize those parameters too. There's a button that just says monkey around with it and I will take what I get, which is very fun.
Changes so that you're the monster and you're chasing it down.
Yeah. So this is cool. I like that this game is getting a little bit more of a little bit of a shot in the arm. All of these additions feel good to me. It is a short enough game. It's like a 6-hour game. It is meant to be played through multiple times. It's a short enough game where this makes tons of sense. And I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Nice.
Yeah. David, you got a story?
So all I found was super depressing stuff. So like Elon is trying to pay Wikipedia to change its name to Dickipedia.
Yeah, he's such a funny, cool person that I admire a lot.
Real, what's the Tate person? Trying to get someone to beg for money for their sun energy right here.
Yeah.
And
hey, Elon, how many of your kids are talking to you?
Yeah.
And then it's come out that Remington paid Call of Duty to put one of their guns in their games as like a marketing pitch to kids.
Cool. Yeah, I hope that gets regulated. I really wish that came out in the, in the run up to the merger with Activision.
I mean, good news though. Things didn't end up well for Remington.
What happened to
they are no longer a company. They went bankrupt.
They went bankrupt in the interim? When did they go bankrupt? Yep.
Okay. Couple years ago.
Okay. Huh.
This was I don't know which Call of Duty it was that they paid the money for, but I think it was one of the ones a fair ways back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just everything is depressing.
Yeah,
I did find out that I can use ChatGPT to get summaries of historical events in the voice of Metal Gear Solid characters. That has been making my day.
Okay, yeah.
You haven't lived till you've asked Revolver Ocelot to explain the January 6th riots.
Good Lord.
Oh gosh, yeah. If my mind was working faster, I would definitely go into Otacon explaining, the intricacies.
I did had Otacon explaining QAnon, and halfway through it actually gets to a fairly wholesome dissertation on the importance of fighting this by teaching people good media literacy and stuff like that.
That does sound like something Otacon would say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it ends up with him saying it's a different type of stealth mission, but that doesn't mean it's any less important.
It's a different type of stealth mission, but that doesn't mean it's any less important. Oh God.
So if you ever need a new way to consume your news.
Cool.
Oh, I can't resist the urge to add personalities when we use ChatGPT for itineraries.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, what's a couple things to do in Paris if you're there for a weekend? But tell me as Buzz Lightyear.
Oh. Yeah.
I also did find that ChatGPT does know what bonfire side chats and watch out for fireballs are.
Oh, cool.
All right.
Yeah, we made it, baby. We're part of the Borg. I didn't give them permission for that, so
sue their asses.
do this in the voice of Cole Ross. No, thank you. Don't want that to happen. How do y'all feel about buttoning it up?
Let us button.
The credit.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to level number 477. We appreciate you taking the time. If you would like to help us out, you can leave a rating or review. You can subscribe. You go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and check out the offerings there. And or you can join the Duckfeed community group and watch for the prompts to go up for the multiplayer. Going to keep it short because we've gone a little bit long tonight. Dennis, is there anything that you want to plug?
No, nothing too crazy.
Cool. Yeah, can't think of anything else. So I've been Cole Ross. You can find me on Blue Sky at Cole Ross.
I've been Dennis Furia. You can find me on Blue Sky at Furia Games.
I've been David Myersmith, or maybe I'm just a ChatGPT imitating David Myersmith.
And I've been Ben Merkel.
Wait a minute. Are we all outsourcing our stuff to... Damn it. And stick around for some
I'm
titles.
sorry, but as a learning language model, I can only...
Suggest some titles based on the transcript of this episode. Cool. I've only got one. I wrote it down kind of in a panic because I hadn't written any down. I've got That's the Trouble Closet.
Nice.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot to write a down.
I've got the Trouble Closet as well.
Okay.
I have the Spider's Man. And then my personal favorite, Daisy Get Your Gun.
Okay.
So Spider's Man is actually a character in the Marvel universe.
Oh, God damn it. No,
It is it is literally in one of the dimensions there is a Peter Parker that is actually just like thousands of spiders. Like in a Peter Parker suit.
And this is distinct from Man Spider.
Yes.
Yes.
This is making me want to go back and watch Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I don't know if he shows up in there or not. I haven't seen the most recent one actually.
I just panically wrote down Gary Youngman.
All right. By votes, that's the Trouble Closet.
Not bad.
Any opinions?
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
All right. It is decided.